Okay, welcome back. We are going to look at making drawing sheets now for our train project. What you're going to do is come down to the bottom next to the Part Studio, hit the little plus sign to insert a new element. We're going to create a drawing. That's going to create another tab for us down below that's going to be our drawings. Here on the left, you may not be on recently opened if this is your first time. I think it'll default to right here, Onshape. So the template we're going to use is size A, which is your 8.5 by 11 paper. We're going to use ANSI in inches instead of millimeters. We modeled using inches. So that's the one I'm going to choose. And then I'm going to select OK. It's taken just a second. Alright, I want to close all this so that you see how to open it. It kind of prompts you right away when you start a new drawing page to go ahead and insert views. I'm not going to worry about the title block for today since we're new to Onshape. Let's just get some views on. So up here, this little button, and if you hover, you guys hopefully know by now you can kind of hover and see names. That's the insert view button. If I click that, I get this menu where I can again choose to insert. I'm going to have some other things, so I'm going to press that first. Okay, first off, I don't have to put a view of just a single part. You'll notice that these are all of our parts that we created. But right here you see that the word assemblies is here. This is actually a second tab. So you can toggle between assemblies or part studios in terms of what we want to bring on. So for the first page, I'm actually thinking of this being like a cover page that I want to just bring on the full assembly of my train. So I'm going to choose that. Now that that's selected, I'm going to be able to edit some of these choices about the view. So what is the orientation? I'd like an isometric. Something got selected and I don't. Let me undo. I really didn't think I clicked anything. But let's just go grab that one more time. Okay, so I'm going to change where it says front to isometric. And there you go. It took a second to kind of populate a preview. The scale is, small. If this is the only thing I'm going to put on this big page, I just kind of want like nice one big view. I'm going to click right here and try to change the scale to 1:1. And if that's too big, I could always change it. Instead of between 1 and 1 or 1 and 2, I could do like 1 to 1.5. I can come in here. I'll just show you that you can do that. You can manually type and edit that. Let's see, do I have to enter? Yep, to get it to show. So I can manually type in a different decimal right here. Let's say 2.5 and change that scale. That's good enough. We'll left click to place the view. And then to make this a shaded view, I'm going to hover over the view. I'm going to right click. And then inside, there's lots of options. But if you find show shaded view right here, and then select that, you'll have a colored view of it. Okay? Next up, let me hit this little handle on the left. Shows my sheets. It's my browser for my drawings. So I just have one sheet. I could rename this too, I believe. I can right click. Yep, rename. So this could be the kind of the cover page, full assembly. And underneath it shows what's on that page. To add more sheets, we're going to hit this little button right here, insert sheet. And now I've got a second page in which I can bring other things on. So if we want to bring on how about the train body just as a part, I'll go to insert, insert again. From the part studio this time, we'll scroll down and find the train body. Okay, and I've got to think about what do I want my front, top, right views, etc. to be. think I'm going to go with this for, I know it's called my left view, but I think I'm going to use this as my kind of my front view for this part. And I'm going to place it right around here. Okay, and I'm going to go straight up. Left click once to project now that corresponding top view. And it doesn't automatically project again. It looks like it's on there. Let me see. If I click this, left click, okay, I just have to go choose my front view again. Kind of paying attention to your buttons that are highlighted. I'm going to come over here to the right. I'm going to click, and I've got it. Now if that were turned off, if I say, let's see, do I hit space or right click and just hit escape? Okay, turn off the tool. If I wanted to project again, I would just come hit this button, choose the base view that I'm going to project from, and then I can start to move. And to get that isometric, I'm going to go diagonal, up and right, and I'll get the front top right. Okay, I'm going to hit escape to turn that, see how that's still shaded, to turn that off. I'm going to come over on top of this one, I'm going to right click and say show shaded view so that that one is shaded. And I like in Onshape that on all the extra pages other than the first page, the title block is this abbreviated little title block that doesn't take up that much space. I can rearrange views here. It kind of works a little different in Inventor that some of you might be used to, or at least the preview. If you grab one of the views and move it, it doesn't in real time show you how the other views are going to move, but they are going to move. So if I let go, then they're going to snap to where they would be. So Onshape is keeping the right view aligned to the front and the top to the front. It just doesn't show you as you're moving it. So in terms of laying it out, you kind of have to just do a little bit better job anticipating where things are going to move, or maybe take a couple attempts at it. But I did like how Inventor kind of showed you at the same time. So, and if you grab this right one, while maybe you're thinking you're moving right and left, if you accidentally move it up and down at the same time, you'll notice that the front view moves too. So just be mindful of that. Even though you're not seeing it move, it is going to move after you let go. Okay. Okay, let's add some dimensions now. First off, my model looks just complicated with all these lines. And some of these lines, these thin lines, what they are, they're transitions from the fillet to, in essence, it's not really flat, I know, on the cylinder, but kind of where that fillet becomes tangent to the rest of the shape. And so that's not like a hard edge on the model, even though it shows a line. And I can turn those off. If I right click on this view and then tangent edges, the lighter one is the chosen. So you see it says solid, and that looks, hopefully you can see that it looks lighter. I'm going to go ahead and select hidden, and it'll hide those. And that at least makes my model look a little simpler for now, for kind of beginning to dimension. I don't want you guys to think you have to like go crazy dimensioning things. So I'm going to hide those tangent edges on all of my views. Come on. Okay, so my dimension tool is right here, and there is a drop down, but if you just choose the tool, that first one, let me hover, it'll tell you. Maybe, okay. Place a dimension on any type of curve. It says select 2 points, or 2 edges, or 2 arcs, or arcs and circles, etc. Drag the cursor and click to place the dimension. It's pretty straightforward. So if I turn that tool on, let's start with our 3 overall principal dimensions. So the overall width, I'm going to choose just a vertical edge here and then come over here. And I know it's showing me a dimension, but that will update what it's going to dimension when I make a second selection. So I'm going to choose that edge, and then I'm going to come in between those 2 selections and kind of come up. I'm going to give myself some room so I can dimension some other things and nest those smaller dimensions inside, closer to the part. But this is my overall width. Now I'll get my overall height, and I can do it in this view or this view. We'll go ahead and do it in this view from here to here. And my overall depth. Okay, so there's overall dimensions. Smaller dimensions, let's see, the holes and circles. I can just grab that. There is also in here, there is a whole call out. Let's see. Where I'm getting all the other information if I use that instead of the regular dimension. So the 1/4-20 underneath is giving me the dimensions of the threads. On top, in the top row, I'm getting the diameter of the hole as well as the depth of the hole. So you've got that to use. Mostly though, when I did this my first time just practicing, I really just kind of stuck on the dimension tool. Let's come over here and show you that if you click on an arc, it automatically will give you the radius. So I've got the radius there. I can get the radius here. Okay, I could use the whole call out again on those. So I think that shows you how to use the tools. And from here, I'm really just going to add sheets and add more dimensions. And so I'm thinking, for those of you that are doing this for the second time, trying to do this project in Onshape as opposed to having done it in Inventor, I think I've given the tools and showed kind of where to click in Onshape enough. I'll try to provide you a PDF that shows what I dimensioned if you would like to follow along and try to think about where you need to dimension things. Now, there's always more than one way to do something, but let's just remind you real quick, kind of good dimensioning practices. You should basically give every needed dimension at most once, or exactly one time. We don't want to over dimension things, so we don't want to give the same dimension 3 times, where we gave it in the front view and in this view. And if you're thinking about, as an example, it's not. What's happening? I'm going to hit escape to reset this. I'm going to try to click that line. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, so if you think about that width right here, because I know the overall width and I know this width, then through math, I would know this width right here. And so it's redundant for me to dimension from here to here and provide this as well, because they add up. So this it's hard when there's so few dimensions or little features across the thing, but you can look at this as like chain dimensioning, the little features that add up to the whole. If we're talking about chain dimensioning as a technique, you give all but one, because you have the overall, and so the last one is already known through just addition or subtraction. Okay, so in general, try to give all the dimensions that are needed, but don't over dimension. Nest the shorter dimensions kind of inside, closer to the part, is a good tip. Just we don't want like this. We don't want these extension lines right here crossing the dimension line if possible. At a glance, when you take a step back and just view your whole document, it should look reader friendly, easy to understand, have all the information that you need. So I hope you can kind of look for that in my example that I'll link to you and give you. If you want to try to just see if you can go through and get all the dimensions without looking at that first and then use it later just to compare what did I dimension and what did you dimension, then you can see, do I have some that you don't have, or do you have some that I don't have, and vice versa. So perhaps you would find that I didn't dimension something that I should have. And if you think that's the case, I'd challenge you to kind of really look and think, is there any way that it could be figured out, even though it's not explicitly listed? And then at the same time, if you have dimensions that I don't have, re-look at those and think, was there a way to know that without me explicitly, you yourself explicitly putting that? So that could be an example of where you're starting to over dimension and put too many on there because it was already determined through other dimensions that you had given. So anyway, good luck with that. I know dimensioning is a overwhelming thing, so don't get overwhelmed. Try to focus on making your drawings look professional, concise, nice, and dimensioning is a skill that we'll continue to work on. So good luck, do a good job.